such the APC, do you think that all is set for their convention, which is in a couple of weeks from now?
Well, I think we must understand that our constitution, like I keep on saying, has made it such that the political parties are the only organizations that can field candidates in any election that the country will organize by INEC. We do not have opportunity to have independent candidature, and so every party are given the opportunity through its mechanisms to produce those that will stand in for elections to represent the parties. And that is why in the INEC ballot papers you will see the logos of political parties, you will see the face of the candidate of the parties. That being said, every year of election you will have internal wrangling within the political parties, you will have mudslinging, you will have power play and horse trading. These are the characteristics of political party conglomeration. Again, political party in Nigeria context, are made up of people of different ideology, different belief system, different idea of how things should be done. And so when you have such kind of arrangement, you will now end up at the end of the day, when those various interests are not met, you will have the players becoming restless, finding a way to outsmart the other parties. That of the APC, like you have mentioned, look at the history of the APC in 2014. APC is a political party that is made up of different interest groups. You have the CPC, you have the ANPP, and you have the APGA and the rest. APGA, faction of APGA, and the rest of parties that came together to form even the PDP. Even the PDP, like for example, some governors of the PDP who defected from the PDP to join forces with the forming of the APC. So APC was formed as a result of aggrieved members of various political parties already existing. Some of them, left out of favor of the party structure, and then they team up with others to now come up with what we now have as the APC. That is why you will have some governors like the former Senate President Abubakar Saraki, like Governor Amechi, like Okorocha, and the rest. They were in another party, but because they fell out of the party structure, they now felt they had to, find, a party where they can, foster their own interest. And so they come together and then form the APC. Now, having said this, in 2015, after the APC emerged, the various interests would have formed the APC were accommodated in the party, in the political party, in the governance that was formed. I still remember Obunayo Ono, who was a leader of, I think, one of the groups, being made a minister. I still remember others being given positions, and positions were shared. Saraki was made the Senate President, to favor some interest group and the rest. But in 2019, most of these persons had fallen out. Like Saraki fell out of the APC and returned back to PDP. And other interest group that formed the PDP, APC, had also lost out of the party structure, and then some of them returned back to the PDP, like Senator Dino Malaye, who was very vocal in the Senate. He was of the APC, but he had issues and he left. So with all this, you now see that the party, the interest in the party was no longer unifying. It was now based on a few cabal who were able to hijack the party structure, and that is what has been playing out. I read several interviews lately where some of the hierarchies of the party are not happy the way the party is run. It's being run. Look at the party's congress that produced, that came up with several state ESCOs.
We were going to approach
that. Now, this is what you have. As a result of this interest, various interests are playing out. In various states, you still have factions, you still have cases in court. So all these are part of what will snowball into what we will now have as a party that will now come out after its convention. But let us hope that all these matters will be resolved before we get into the real election in 2019, in 2023. Otherwise, the party might be running into serious crisis that it might lose so many states to the opposition parties.
You actually touched on a subject that I'd love to explore, and that is the internal crisis rocking the party. You know that there is still pending legal cases, and the party went ahead to inaugurate an ESCO. Let me read to you what some factions are saying. I mean, some factions, they've accused the APC of contempt of court with regards to pending legal matters and warned that the party is headed for an imminent collapse if it failed to resolve this crisis. The National Secretary of the APC Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, John Akpanu Doedege, had on Thursday, of course you remember, sworn in on Thursday, I think that was sometime last month, sworn in party members. Now, you are yet to have these issues, resolved. And then you also had the Reconciliation Committee that was spearheaded by former Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Adamu and some other persons who went from state to state trying to reconcile these aggrieved members. But it doesn't look exactly, sorted out. And then you swear in an ESCO. What is your thought of this? Will it allow the party have that seamlessness it is looking for, going ahead to the convention?
You see, I am not a prophet of doom. I'm not going to be prophesying what will likely happen to be the fate of the APC. But I think I want to throw the argument of some of the party members, whether aggrieved or not, party members who have said that you need to have national leadership of the party, not Caretaker Committee. For instance, there is a question in court, which the court is yet to determine whether the national chairman, the acting national chairman,
that's Buni,
whether he is qualified to actually chair the national leadership of the party, being that he's a
serving governor.
The question
you cannot be holding two positions.
That the court need to interpret. That is why I don't want my statement to be prejudiced or to be subjudice, to speak before the court makes pronouncement. But the truth is that I think that there is need for APC to sit back and look at it. When they say executive, can you hold two executive positions? It's a matter that the court need to interpret. Somebody had asked me this question and said, what is executive? And I said, executive, as far as you are the party chairman, whether you put the executive chairman or not, that is executive position. Look at what the law says. I'm not speaking for the court. The court will determine that. Now, that being said, will the party have avoided this crisis of asking the court to interpret whether somebody can actually chair the party's leadership when there are many members of the party who can actually fit in there without any litigation? The answer is yes. Why do you give room for people to throw stones? You have other party members who are not holding positions that would have raised question in court. You don't appoint them or make them to sit as national leadership, but you appoint someone whose position is being questioned, and you allow the court. You want to allow the court to make a pronouncement as to whether his holding sway in the position was suitable by law or not. That aside, it is true that there are several litigations in court as a result of the way the APC leadership has handled its internal crisis, internal matter. I am happy at the stand of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is the party leader. But because he has not interfere, he has not also stamped his feet to say this must be that, in this state A must be this, in this must be this. He allowed the party to run independently. But unfortunately, some members of the party have catched into this privilege, call it privilege now, and begin to undo the party structure. How? How do you justify a scenario where you have, in some states, you have three state chairmen as a result of party congress, and whereas the matter is in court, the party leadership had inaugurated a faction. Let me take a particular example in Akwa Ibom, for example, because this is where I draw most of my examples. The matter is still in court. You have several factions. You have a faction led by the City National Secretary of the party, Senator John James Akpan Udoyedege. The faction that is being led by the House of Assembly member, the member that is representing the House of that is of the party APC, the only member that the party has in the Senate of Assembly. The man is also representing, is leading a faction. The faction is also being led by Senator Itaina. Another one is alleged to have been led by Senator Godswill Akpabio. And all these interests, all these factions are there. And then, instead of seeking to reconcile, the party leadership went ahead to inaugurate a faction from all this.
Party leadership, a section.
In fact, because as at now, you only have one national office occupied by one person. So for me, that is the party leadership. Until the court says otherwise, you still have the Bonu-led committee as the leadership of the party. And then secretary by Senator John James Akpan Udoyedege. So for me, that is the party leadership until the court says otherwise. Now, that being said, once there is a matter in court, the parties ought to allow the court to make pronouncement, but the party came up and inaugurated this faction and other factions. Now why that is still going on? I saw a press statement, which is also in the social media, where very prominent member of the party, Atuye Kongdon Etiebet, hosted a stakeholders meeting of 40 members, and they came up to sign a communique endorsing Senator Udoyedege to run
Atuye Kong,
for
you're
party. No, you must look at the crisis.
Yes, because I was going to go from one issue to another, to the adoption.
I wouldn't know your mindset, but I'm giving you a chronicle of events that has led to a series of crises that continue, unabated in the party. So I wouldn't know what you have in mind. But now I'm just speaking as a matter of fact that I have this crisis in my fingertips, and I think that the party is not in a hurry to get its act in order, to get its house in order. The party is still in a hurry, instead to cause more disaffection, to cause more disenchantment, to cause more crisis within its fold. Now, Atuye Kongdon Etiebet came up and inaugurated, and hosted stakeholders of the party in his house, and the stakeholders came up and adopted the national leadership or the national secretary of the party as its own governorship candidate for the election that is forthcoming. I mean, whereas you have crisis, instead of thinking of how to reconcile the crisis in the party, you are thinking of how to adopt a candidate to further polarize the party. That is why I have written several articles about political party crisis, and one of which that I wrote about the APC was, what does the APC really want? Do you want to win election in the state as governor and at the center as, maintain the center as the president, or you just only want to hold the party leadership positions and it ends there? If the latter is the case, then you need to work harder and resolve all this internal wrangling and allow the party machinery to run smoothly without these encumbrances that you are creating for one issue to the other. You have about 3 or 4 cases in court in a state, and everywhere. Where then lies the party unity and strength? That's the point. So for me, I think the APC need to do more by reconciling its members first. All its leaders across the states, across the country, have to, in the various states, they have to meet, they have to agree, so that the party will be able to, come together as a force. As it stands now, I read the other day, Okorocha was speaking about his own. I also read the other one of, I read the one of Amechi.
Even Kano State.
Even Kano State.
Shakarao
and the rest.
There are factions everywhere.
And the rest.
Lai Mohammed-led faction.
Faction in Kwara. And you keep on having this crisis, and you now think that the party that genuinely want to unify a country, within itself, there is crisis. I don't want to link the party instability to the stability in the country, because the party on its own is unstable.
It will be absolutely wrong to.
I don't want to link, because charity begins at home. A house that is divided against itself cannot stand. Here is a house that has produced the federal government, and within the house there are several interest groups that are fighting here and there. And how will the party be able to focus and give us governance? That is why I am tempted to believe that the party members, the power gladiators, are only interested in holding powers, not giving us governance, not seeking to win election in any of the states, but only seeking to hold power as it were, and hold it tight.
Why do we have this history of political parties infightings and bickerings, at least the year preceding election? Why do we have that history? You think it's something that is synonymous with the Nigerian politics?
I want to agree with you that is why I said in my opening remark that the Nigerian Constitution did not allow room for people to go and file and pick the INEC form and become whatever you want to be. Independent candidates. You need to pass through parties. The party has become like a nuclear family that you need to pass through to be given a ticket to fly, to be able to to contest. And that is why everybody will seek to become the party's candidate. So it is this desire to become the party's candidate is why you have internal wrangling. Not only in APC, you also have it in PDP and other parties that are really, preparing for elections. But there are those who just come out, call themselves a political party, just to get the INEC subvention, and then at the end of the day, they just go to bed without having any candidate. Some even candidates who will not even have one vote. But the parties that are really coming out for elections are those that are actually serious. And those that are actually serious are the ones that you will see this infighting. Because being a party's candidate first. In fact, there is a particular state whose name I will not want to name, where a particular political party's candidate only wants to be a candidate. And once he emerges as a candidate, he goes to sleep and get the funding of the party will now fund you. That for the person and for the party is only a way of empowerment. He's not even interested in winning election, just to be the party candidate. The party will just fund,
and he enjoys
that fund that will come in. He doesn't stress himself about going to contest. Once he's been made the party's candidate, he goes to sleep, because the party will now bankroll everything, and then of course he will have fund in his bank account. So for him and for the person, it's like a business adventure. And so that is why you keep on seeing them every election year. They will come out and contest
just to get
the party funding. Because once you become a party's candidate, the party fund you. You are now liable, or you are now licensed to get loan from banks, from anybody, to say, I am going to be this. The bank will now fund you. You now do fundraising, will now raise money for you, and that is it. And how do you give account of all these funds? It's what is lacking. Ask every party that contested election in 2019 to show how much they actually spent. How much did they get as funding, and how much did they spend? That is what nobody asks. And that's it. So that is why you see people struggling to become party candidate, because once you are appointed, you get the fund. And first will support you, first will bring money, you now go to get loan, you are now like you can now go and get a loan from anywhere. Because they see you as a likely governor, or likely president, or a likely senator, or likely an investment that is moving to be invested upon. And that is just what some persons are interested to achieve.
Okay, so with all of this going on, even with the PDP still having their crisis, but our focus mainly today is on the APC. Let's look at the candidacy arrangement currently in the APC. There are issues also brewing silently about the vice president's intention. There are persons who believe that the vice president should not announce his intention per se, because it might offend or dampen the chances of some persons. Let's still stay on the APC. Do you share in that sentiment? Do you believe that the vice president should not even make his intentions known or something?
I don't share in that sentiment. Does he have a freedom of expression?
Obviously, yes.
Does he have a freedom of association? Does he have a freedom to aspire to hold any office? Can he vote and be voted for? It's a question that those who are trying to cage him, should be able to answer. If the answer is in the affirmative, then I think the vice president has a right, as a lawyer who knows that he has a right to exercise his franchise. If he doesn't want to contest, nobody can force him to contest. If he wants to contest, he knows how to go about it. Let's even look at what happened in 2007. Atiku Abubakar wanted to contest for the president of the country. He was, the president then tried to cage him. They tried to clip his feathers, tried to attack his business frontiers, attack his movement, tried to put security report around him, build NIA around him, and all those reports started making him look like he was a security threat. He was this, he was being halted by EFCC and all those things. But at the end of the day, the man went about and contested. Even though his principal did not support him, but he contested. And then he lost at the party's primaries. Now, why do I say this? I want those who are afraid of the personnel of Vice President Yemi Osibanjo to kill those fears in them. This is a man that has contributed to stability of the Nigerian economy. This is a man, I'm not here to canvass support for anybody, but I'm just running down what he has contributed to building the party and to building the government that he is part of.
And like every other candidate, he also has
his own role. So I think I read a report where I don't know how true. I just think I know it. I know now you will have several speculations, rumors, and so where they say the president is uncomfortable with his aspiration that the chief of staff to the president spoke with him unofficially and asking him not to declare his ambition, all those things to calm down. I don't think those are right. If those reports are anything to go by, I think it is wrong to try to cage a man who has a right to exercise himself, to be voted for, and to also vote. Let him consult his inner mind, let him consult his wife, consult his friends, and begin to hear how they will feel about him. Otherwise, if he doesn't want to aspire, nobody can force him. But the truth is that I want to see an open field where all those who want to be Nigerian president will be given opportunities to express themselves and have unfettered access to everything that they will need, including security report, including party structure and everything. Nobody should be bad because certain forces behind are against the person. I know, I don't want to call name, but I know that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also in the race. He has even made the president and consulted. Why didn't they ask him to wait? He's the party leader, quote and unquote, as they have tagged him. Why didn't those who are afraid of Osibanjo ask Tinubu to wait? Why haven't they asked other aspirants in the party, like Okorocha, who have met the president, like Carlo, to wait? Why would they ask another person, one person to wait while the rest are going about campaigning? I'm not saying that he should campaign either, but I'm saying that the man should be given opportunity, should be allowed to, to think and come out with what he actually wants. But the truth is that he has the right to aspire to occupy any office in the country.
All right, so let us also still staying on the APC. What the APC is going through right now is not peculiar to the